This is Straight Talk with Atlanta native Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shanan Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fann, the Preacher Man.
Well, welcome to another edition of Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the Preacher Man, and my co-host Shanan E. Jones, who's again not with us tonight. Shanan is still under the weather. Keep him in prayer. Keep him in prayer. He needs much prayer. Let's keep him lifted up. He's having problems, health challenges, but we know God is a healer, and God can heal any manner of sickness and or disease. So let's keep Shanan in our prayers. Won't you do that? Now, tonight we will have Miss C. Miss C is going to be with us. You know, she's been under the weather herself. She's been under the weather, and of course, she's going to be with us with her news, Straight Talk news and information. She's fallen several times. She'll tell you all about it. And when she comes on, she'll tell you all about her sickness and what she was going through. She'll explain that. But tonight we have for us on NSNBC, Henri. Henri is going to be talking to us, have guests talking to us about this immunity that Donald Trump is claiming, that he has presidential immunity for his crimes. So he's admitting in some sense that he had committed a crime, that he did be a part of insurrection. He's admitting it without saying it without saying it, by saying, I want immunity so I don't have to be prosecuted for these crimes, right? Okay, so we're going to be listening to that when we listen to people talking about Nixon and his alleged immunity for Watergate and what happened during that trial, and whether or not a president has immunity or not. And we have to join in that conversation. Do we really want a president of the United States to have immunity for crimes that he or she may commit while they're in public office? Well, we don't give it to governors, we don't give it to senators, we don't give it to Congress people, we don't give it to state representatives, state senators, we don't give it to commissioners, we don't give it to city council people, we don't even give it to judges. I mean, so they say that the president of the United States would have total immunity for any crimes that he or she committed as president. Well, we might well say, you are a dictator. You can do whatever you want to do. You can have people killed. You can have people locked up. You can do whatever you want. And that's what Donald Trump said he's going to do. He said he's going to do it. I'll be a dictator once I get to be elected again. Y'all give me this ring again. I'm going to show you how I'm going to act. I'm going to show you a real dictator. He's going to be like his buddy Putin and the president of China and the president of Korea. He said, these are my partners. This is my posse. I'm going to roll like them. I am going to be a dictator. Well, democracy is on trial. After listening to this, we want to hear your views and your opinion about whether or not we should allow for a president of the United States to have immunity for crimes that he or she may commit. But I'll be back with you on the other side after Miss C, and after this special segment by Henri on NSNBC. See you then.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast. It's so good to see you out there. Hey, Greg. Hey, Shanan. Hey Bishop Greg. Hey, Pastor Shanan. Hope you all had a good holiday too. Listen, during the holidays, I couldn't stay off the floor. I fell twice, not one time, but 2 times during the week of Christmas. And I went to the doctor today and they just laughed at me. Everybody's been laughing at me for loving the floor. You know, this is 2024. And, you know, people saying in 2024, I'm striving for more. Well, for me, in 2024, I'm striving to stay off the floor. So anyway, I'm here with your 3-minute news blast. And I'm glad. I'm telling you, I'm just glad to be here. I didn't have any broken bones, and I had a ankle sprain, but anyway, I'm just glad to be here. God is good. Anyway, you are welcome to join the worship services of Edgefield Missionary Baptist Church. They're located at 381 McBrayer Road in Temple, Georgia, 30179. Services are held every Sunday at 10 a.m., except on the fifth Sundays. On the fifth Sundays, they have it on Facebook Live only. But for the first to the fourth Sundays, you can join them in person at McBrayer Road or on Facebook Live. And they also hold Sunday school every second and fourth Sunday. That's Edgefield Missionary Baptist. Okay. Apostle D.L. Rogers and Christian Outreach Evangelistic Church at 6120 Highway 85 in Riverdale, Georgia, 30274, invites you to their worship services every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. You can go online at www.coecministry.org or call them at 770-997-1819 to get more details. They're also on Facebook Live and Zoom. And you can find their links on the website. And you can also view their weekly calendar. Okay, listen. Straight Talk News wants to congratulate the 2024 president and officers of the Atlanta Baptist Ministers Union. And the newly elected officers are, and you know what? I have done away with my paperwork. Listen here now. Hold on one second. Reverend Craig White Sr. is the president. And Reverend Jarius Dorsey, he is first vice president. And Reverend Patrick Lattimore, he is the second vice president. And then we also want to congratulate Reverend William Strickland. He's the secretary. And Reverend Willie Lucas, he's the treasurer. And Reverend, can't even read my handwriting this time, Reverend Gurley, he is the financial secretary. And listen, the Atlanta Baptist Ministers Union, they hold meetings every Tuesday at 11 a.m. at First Corinth Missionary Baptist Church. That's 2165 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway in Northwest Atlanta. And listen, I'd like you to do 4 things with me before we go. I'd like for you to subscribe. I'd like for you to like us, and those little buttons are right there on the screen. And I'd like for you to leave a comment, let us know how we're doing, and also tell people about us. Share Straight Talk News. Don't keep this to yourself. Now, some things you keep to yourself, but we want you to let everybody know about Straight Talk News, because if you've watched for a while, you know the Straight Talk News gives it to you straight, with Bishop Greg Fann and Reverend Shanan Jones. And, of course, me, Miss C. And we're going to see you in 2024. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you. Bye.
Is now defending his win over Trump on that immunity issue. An appeals court will review the district judge rejecting Trump's claim that a former president should be immune from everything. If you can almost hear the eye rolling in that report, it's because few people, experts in law or politics, have ever agreed with Trump's extreme claim. Indeed, if you're not into the law, but you have a basic memory of American history, something we actually talked about at the top of the program, you may know former presidents are not automatically immune from potential prosecution. That's never been any kind of rule, and that is why, as many know, President Ford pardoned former President Nixon, precisely because otherwise the former president, at that time Nixon, could have been charged.
I, Gerald R. Ford, President of the United States, have granted, and by these presents do grant, a full, free, and absolute pardon unto Richard Nixon for all offenses against the United States which he, Richard Nixon has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from July 20, 1969 through August 9, 1974.
There it was, a pardon for someone who wasn't immune, so he would need a pardon. Now, more recently, top Republicans have operated on the obvious premise that the criminal justice system could potentially put Trump on trial after he left the White House. Take the most powerful Republican in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, emphasizing that exact point during Trump's Senate trial after impeachment.
Trump is still liable for everything he did while he was in office as an ordinary citizen. We have a criminal justice system in this country. We have civil litigation. And former presidents are not immune from being accountable by either one.
And to be clear, I'm showing you that not just to say, oh, look, that's what they said, but that was so rudimentary, so obvious, so plain that McConnell wasn't making waves by saying it. It was just the state of play. If you want to check the Justice Department, long before Jack Smith or anyone else came along, it has held the view in writing that former presidents can be prosecuted, and that specifically the Constitution permits a former president to be criminally prosecuted for the same offense for which he was impeached and then acquitted by the Senate while in office, as a 2000 memo explains. Now, Trump was acquitted by the Senate for the narrow charge of inciting insurrection. Jack Smith is actually prosecuting him for other charges related to January 6th plots. Now, Trump's appeal claims that he should still have this magic immunity because anything he did was an official act. And he says if he is basically tried, if this case goes forward, then there would be politically motivated prosecutions, which are more menacing and crippling to the presidency than even civil suits. He also accuses Smith of ignoring extensive information about widespread fraud in 2020. Now, that second passage there it's just legally dead on arrival. Judges, and that's who he's talking to, this is not PR, this is not Truth Social, judges know Trump lost the election. They know that no court, let alone the Supreme Court, found the kind of widespread fraud that could alter the outcome in a single state, let alone the several states that Trump lost by. Now, apart from lying about the election he lost, Trump is hoping that his lawyers can get the Supreme Court to embrace either this magic new immunity theory or that this whole process will delay the case. And the guy knows how to delay. Smith is trying to warn this court and eventually the Supreme Court, where you'll see these arguments again if they were to take the case, that even if courts found that tempting, or even if there was a partisan basis, that you were just trying to help Trump, if you think judges operate that way, there would still be larger alarm bells and danger in that precedent. Smith saying that total immunity would shield a president who instructs the FBI director to plant incriminating evidence on a political enemy, or protect a president who incites his supporters during a State of the Union address to kill opposing lawmakers, to ensure that he remains in office unlawfully. Now, Trump's lawyers do not have a very good response about deterring that. They argue instead that the impeachment of a sitting president and then the potential removal by the Senate would be enough. They say, quote, the Senate has the constitutional authority to prosecute a president through impeachment. And there's a little problem here, and I know it might feel like we're getting out into an episode of 24, but I'm literally just reporting exactly what Jack Smith, who's a serious straight shooter, and the Trump lawyers are arguing about. Remember, in Jack Smith's hypothetical, the Senate that the Trump lawyers just mentioned could be intimidated or literally killed on a partisan basis by a murderous authoritarian president to prevent even that thin Senate impeachment and removal accountability. Smith is warning the judges about this amidst a very recent history we lived through, when Trump fans openly tried to hang the sitting vice president at the time, to assassinate Republican Mike Pence. They built a gallows, for goodness sake, and then legislators, including Republicans, we see there, were sent sprinting away to avoid harm or death, a scene that Trump's lawyers want the courts to forget, both in this appeal that I'm telling you about tonight and the potentially more serious criminal trial, if it happens, planned for March. Now, these scenes, which again would become evidence in the March trial, led to the fastest impeachment ever, where Trump's own lawyers actually reiterated this point just mentioned tonight moments ago, that Nixon took the pardon because otherwise he could have been arrested, convicted, and imprisoned. Now, Trump's lawyers even dangled that as the obvious alternative to ousting him from the White House with a few days left over the insurrection impeachment. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Attorney for Trump, Bruce Castor, told the senators how Trump could be arrested just after he's out of office.
After he's out of office, you go and arrest him. So there is no opportunity where the President of the United States can run rampant in January, the end of his term, and just go away scot-free. The Department of Justice does know what to do with such people.
Indeed it does. That's Trump's own lawyer saying the thing that Trump's lawyers now claim cannot ever happen. Now, the Justice Department did arrest and book Trump, just as his lawyer admitted they could. The new lawyers are betting on a Hail Mary aimed, we think, based on the available evidence, more at the Supreme Court than the appeals judges hearing this case next week.
He's out of office, you go and arrest him. So there is no opportunity where the President of the United States can run rampant in January, the end of his term, and just go away scot-free. The Department of Justice does know what to do with such people.
We're back with Andrew Weissman. Was Trump's defense lawyer there correct?
As Jack Smith said in his papers to the D.C. Circuit on this issue, he pointed out that exact quote saying that Donald Trump told the Senate that he could be, in fact, prosecuted after he left office. And now that he is out of office, he says, no, I can't be if I have been acquitted. If I've been charged and acquitted by the Senate, then it is a get out of jail free card that he cannot be prosecuted. So he points out that inconsistency. And this really relies on what's called the impeachment judgment clause, which says that
let's get it, Andrew. Let's get into it.
Yep. So the clause says that if you have been impeached and you have been convicted, then you are subject afterwards to being criminally prosecuted, meaning it left it clear that just because you've been removed from office doesn't mean that's the only sanction, that you can actually still face criminal prosecution. Well, Donald Trump says, well, that has a negative implication that if you've been acquitted by the Senate, then you cannot be. And that is really going to be a bit of a battleground in the D.C. Circuit. I think Jack Smith has a much, much better argument here. But that is the sort of debate about why the clause talks about what can happen if you're convicted, but it doesn't talk about what can happen if you are acquitted.
If the D.C. Circuit upholds the lower ruling, which, to generalize, is what usually happens, then the case is back alive. They appeal to the Supreme Court. Then what happens, Andrew?
Well, the main issue I see is the Supreme Court could take it, but the question is the speed with which they do that. The normal rules are that the person who loses in the appellate court actually has a lot of time in order to seek further review at the appellate level. In other words, even before you get to the Supreme Court, you can ask the panel that's ruled to reconsider. You can ask the whole court to hear it, because a panel is just 3 judges. You can ask the entire D.C. Circuit judges to hear the case. Why am I raising that? Because all of that entails delay. And then you would say, okay, I have 90 days to appeal and to seek Supreme Court review. And say you have to do this very, very quickly. And I suspect that is what will happen, because that's just a way too long a time period to keep this on hold. But that is definitely going to be Donald Trump's play.
Just to clarify, though, and you're saying the D.C. Circuit, or who would create that condition?
The D.C. Circuit could create the restricted timeline to say you only have a certain number of days to seek further review here. And they could say, if you do not seek review in the Supreme Court in a certain number of days, we are sending this back to the district judge to hold the trial. So they could try and shorten up that time period. Obviously, that leaves Donald Trump the ability to go to the Supreme Court and see if they will change that. So each of the courts, the Circuit Court and the Supreme Court, has the ability to lengthen or restrict the time period.
And do you think this Supreme Court would want to jump into this? Because they have the option to stay out of it, as they do most cases.
So that is a really interesting possibility, which is that the D.C. Circuit, I think everyone thinks, including myself, that they're going to affirm Judge Chutkan and say that this case can go forward.
We are back. Thank you, Miss C. Thank you so much, Miss C. And I'm so sorry that you had fallen so many times, and I'm glad to know that you recovered and you are back in the saddle, back here on Straight Talk. All right, and you may want to send Miss C some comments and well wishes as you know, we're asking for comments from you, and we'll be asking for comments from you about whether or not the president has immunity or should have immunity. After hearing this segment, you should have some opinion. You may feel that he does, or he or she should. You may feel that he or she shouldn't. Want to just hear from you. Want to know what you think. Also, this thing with the Colorado taking Trump off the ballot, taking him off the ballot, that's going to be heard too, in terms of whether or not he should be on the ballot. Now, you know, the judge in that case who had him removed from the ballot said that Trump did create and incited insurrection. And so she felt that he should be removed from the ballot. It went to the appellate court. They heard it, and now it's been stayed until the Supreme Court hears it, whether or not he could be on the ballot. Now, you know, Maine has done the same thing. Maine is taking him off the ballot, and there are a few other states that are considering taking him off the ballot in their states in terms of being on the ballot as a Republican nominee for president. So we got to see where this thing is going, and we got to pay close attention. We got to teach our young people, because the young people don't know what's going on. They think they know, but they don't know. We got to educate them around these issues of what really at stake here. Democracy, what we know, our freedom of having a country that is governed by the Constitution, which Mr. Trump says he's going to do away with, by the way. The Constitution is a guiding document as to how a president should govern, how this country should be run. And don't forget, we showed you the 2025 project. When we shared with you the 2025 project, well, they're advocating some of this stuff and doing away with some of this stuff, and that the president who they support will make those changes in the first 190 days. So pay attention. If you haven't read up on the 2025 project, Google it. Look at it on YouTube. It's there. They're telling you what their plan is to overthrow this country and how they want this country to now run that while they are in control. Well, I want you to subscribe to our channel. Do subscribe and do like us. Do make comments and do share. Subscribe, like us, make comments, and share. Want to hear from you. And we're going to get ready to get out of here. Y'all just keep Shanan in prayer. Hopefully he'll be back with us next week with more talk and information. Look like the Hawks ain't getting in there, y'all. Look like the Hawks are under 500. Look like they're under 500. Maybe your team may be not under 500. The Super Bowl is coming up, but the playoffs are coming up, and I know some of you are anticipating that your team get in there. We got a lot of them in the hunt. We got some in the wild card, and then we got some already as clinch. So a lot of sports going on, a lot of good things going on. I don't want to always talk about the president and the races, but we want to talk about things that's going on every day in life. You be safe out there, and look out for your brothers and your sisters. Hey, look out for the least, the less, the lost, and the left out. Let's help those who need help, because it would be us if it was not for the grace of God. Until next week, it ain't been nothing but straight talk with yours truly, Greg Fann, the preacher man, and my co-host Shanan E. Jones. Until next week. Won't you join us and subscribe and like us, okay? This ain't been nothing but what? Straight talk.